Welcome back. You know, growing up, most of us ran around, maybe played ball or kicked the can, but these days with video games, TV, computers, kids sit around a lot, and it is contributing to a major obesity epidemic across South Florida. Well, I sat down with fitness pro and owner of Primal Fit, Matt Pack, to talk about what we can all do to help it get better. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let us start, as I always like to, by painting the picture. How bad is the obesity epidemic across South Florida?
Well, my clients just got back from Disney World, and I was informed it's pretty bad. And I don't think that's the only place. The zoo, I mean, you see it on the beach, you see it. It's pretty much becoming the norm, unfortunately. So it's everywhere.
And are we talking just adults? Are we talking kids? Is it worse with kids?
Yeah, I think it's getting worse with kids. As the stats are showing right now, physical education programs are being terminated across the nation. I don't know if it's because of budgeting, funding, lack of coaching. I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind it, but we're just not moving as much as we used to. It could be technology driven, more TV, more video games. From one way or another, we're moving less and sitting a whole lot in front of the TV.
Sure, absolutely. I know I am. Embarrassingly. Now, one of the things that is interesting is I know a lot of the local schools are working very hard on adding fruits and vegetables, things like that, to the menu, but some statistics we got was that like 7% of students in Miami-Dade County hadn't eaten fruit or drank any juice in the 7 days before the survey was taken.
Yeah.
I mean, no fruits and vegetables in diets, even as the schools are offering it. Are kids just adverse to these things, or?
Well, I always have to go back to the home on this one, and I'm sorry, I'm a parent myself, but we hold a lot of responsibility for the tastes and the preferences that our children have, and quite frankly, it might be just because the parents don't have the same preferences either. Either that, or from sugar consumption from a very early age as babies. I've seen babies these days, are instead of drinking milk in their bottles, are drinking apple juice and high sugar drinks. So when they do eat things that are healthy for them, they're just not sweet enough. And the real fruit with fiber is not as sweet as the juice. So they just don't taste good enough for them.
So it starts as early as when you're learning your first foods to actually give kids real food?
Absolutely. I truly believe so. You know, I know with my daughter, I've seen studies on this actually, where if a child hasn't had sugar before the age of 3 years old, when they do have sugar, it's too much for them. Their palate, it's just too strong for their palate when they do have it for the first time, so they won't like it.
You're making me think my sister's doing something right, because her kids are like, they eat 3 M&Ms and then they give the rest back saying they've had enough.
Yeah, that's rare. You don't see that very often.
Hopefully they'll grow up healthy and active.
Exactly, and I'm sure they will. You know, and I think that's the thing with most parents. We always say, oh, you know, we turned out fine, but I don't think parents realize that you're creating habits for the rest of their life. So, and I think that's what's happening now, is these children are growing up to be adults. They may be skinny, you know, in their teens, but they continue with these habits. And when jobs happen and when they become more sedentary, they keep the same food habits and they move less, and here we go.
Of course, I mean, and to be honest, like as we get older, we all gain a little bit, you know.
Absolutely,
it just happens.
life tends to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you work with a lot of kids, so how do you keep when they come to you, how do you keep them motivated? How do you get them engaged?
We gotta have fun. I mean, we do animal movements, we play with balls, we run, we jump, we throw things, we climb things, kind of getting back to the primal movement patterns. That's kind of where I got my name from. Primal Fit Miami is the name of my facility, and primal, by the definition, means first or of utmost importance. So it's kind of getting back to what our body was designed to do. We're designed to move, not necessarily be seated at, you know, a local gym and in a machine. We're meant to get up, climb, push, pull, squat, lunge, run, jump, sprint. These are things that our body, from the caveman primitive era, 2.4 million years of our existence, that's what we were doing, you know. And I think by doing that, even for the adults, getting down on the ground and crawling patterns and these infant motor patterns that we used to do when we were babies, that's what we did. You don't even realize you're working out. we're kind of getting away from like, wow, I had so much fun, I didn't even realize we were working out.
Right, and I think that is something to consider, is that a lot of people think of a workout like a dreaded responsibility, a chore.
Yeah.
And the idea of getting to do things that are fun, whether you're a kid or an adult.
You got it.
Now, do you have kids that are sent to you that really don't want to be there? How do you
Absolutely.
get them to break out of that and actually get engaged?
You got to get creative. Depending on how old the child is, you know, their attention spans aren't as long as we would like them to be. So you have to stimulate, keep the session very stimulating, laugh, joke, like I said, and just get back to play. And ultimately, what I think, you know, I always come back to nutrition in the long run. And people are like, oh, here we go again. Matt's talking about nutrition, but you know what? That's how we fill our tank. This is our vehicle, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like if you take a car that needs Supreme unleaded and you put diesel fuel in it.
Right.
Will it work for a little while? Probably. Will it work optimally? I don't think so. And it may even break down.
Sure,
We have to take it back to the shop or the doctor. So I feel like that's where it starts, because if the food isn't adequate or nourishing, then we don't feel like moving. So I feel like the quality of the food needs to be taken seriously a little bit more. And then we feel like, wow, I'm energetic. I'm not as tired and lazy and lethargic as I was when I was
working
eating.
out's not so bad.
Right. You feel like getting up and playing. And you know, and I even said in one of the questions you asked me before the show was, you know, one man's food is another man's poison. You know, some people feel horrible when they eat a certain food, and another person feels fantastic when they eat that same food.
Right. I feel great after chocolate, really good.
Well, you know, yeah, I mean, that may not be the supreme unleaded fuel I was speaking of.
Absolutely, I don't think that's what I should be living off of.
Everything in moderation.
Matt, we do have parents watching, a lot of them, I believe. If you want to give them one final thought as we go as to what they can do to make themselves healthy and make their families healthy.
I think the biggest thing we've gotten away from it that our grandparents did, and if you go back to their generation, there was, from a health standpoint, a disease standpoint, we were a healthier society.
Sure.
And they cooked. So that's something that we just don't have time to do, and I totally understand it. I think we need to figure out a time, maybe a Sunday ritual of maybe cooking in bulk for the week, having the food available, because when the food's not available to your kids or yourself, you're eventually gonna have to go for some convenience food or something that may not be adequate. So I think cooking, like I said, maybe getting the family together and even cooking together.
Well, what's interesting is, especially down here, we have so many great farmers markets, local foods,
Absolutely.
where the family can go to a local market, they can shop together, they can plan out their week, they can cook together and then eat together.
You got it. We don't eat together anymore, and I'm guilty as a lot of other people are out there. But I think we need to get back to, you know, good food, good family, spending more quality time together. And once again, this is going to carry over to that child's life for the rest of their life. You know, and I think that's the best thing, is instill habits that they're going to be able to carry on forever.
I think it's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for being
Thanks
with us
for
today.
having me. I appreciate
Pleasure.
it. Thanks a lot.
Well, that is going to wrap up our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any ideas for things we should cover, you can reach us at feedback@sfltv.net. And you can check out our Facebook page. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here this time next weekend.